Welcome back everyone to Just Minecraft, where today we are finally going to do it. We are finally working on the project which has been like several episodes in the making. We are going to build the honey farm, which I'm excited about because this is actually going to be the first building over our base and stuff. We're finally adding something more than this little boat and the farm over here. And there's actually got to be several different steps when making this farm and stuff, which is more work than I initially thought it would be, because not only have we actually got to work out the redstone for the farm, but we also have to work out what the building for the farm is going to look like, and then also where it's going to go and like the exterior of it as well. There's a lot of stuff because it's a completely new part of my base, and I think I am going to start by explaining the redstone for this, which I'm actually going to work out myself. So the way a honey farm works is, as you can see, obviously one of these is empty and one of them has a bunch of honey, and if we go and look at the MBT data of the ones in the chest, as you can see, it's a value out of 5, which means, as with anything in Minecraft that has a value like that, if we go and take a comparator output from it, the one which has 0 honey in it, although actually this might now have a little bit more, okay, it's got 2 out of 5 now, but what that should mean is this gives a redstone signal of 2. Yeah, so you can see that this is glowing, this one is. And since the maximum output of one of these is 5, what you can do is basically go, okay, so once the signal reaches all the way over here, 5 blocks away and stuff, we just need to harvest the honey. And to do that, what we are going to need is a dispenser. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that the bees don't get annoyed at this because it's a player doing it, but if we put the shears in there and then press the button, as you can see, it harvests the honeycomb. Or of course, you could use a bottle, which will give you a honey bottle. However, there's a very annoying difference between how honey bottles and honeycomb works with these things. Basically, when honeycomb gets harvested, it gets spat out as an item that is just loose in the world. However, when you do it with bottles for some reason, they go into the dispenser, which is really annoying. I don't know why it's so different like that and stuff, but like there is workarounds for it. It's not too bad. But anyway, so essentially the way the honey farm needs to work is once the signal reaches 5 blocks, it's got to send a signal back over that way into the dispenser. And that sounds easy enough, but if you want to compact this down, it's a little difficult. And that is what I need to work out, because not only do we need to send a signal back to this dispenser, but we also need to make sure that it doesn't power any of the other dispensers with any of the other hive, because if it does, it's gonna break things. So right, my first solution would obviously be half slabs or something. However, I am pretty sure this has actually been changed, so now whilst the signal sort of connects, I don't think it actually gets sent up. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this used to work, but it doesn't now. Oh, it does. Okay, that's interesting. Why did I think that was different? Or is it that the signal can't go down? So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, annoyingly, we can't power that like that. Wait, why can't we move this back by 1? Okay, now, that is fine. It's just a little bit annoying, because basically, it means we're going to need to get repeaters for this and stuff, which is expensive. But essentially, as long as power makes it into this dispenser somehow, it should work. And then, what you would do is you would just have hopper under here, and when the item gets dropped, it's going to go into the hopper. And we are actually able to test this right now, because this one is just filled with honey. So the shears need to go in there. I need to get these slabs back. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we just put a repeater here, and there we go. Oh, I forgot to put the hopper in place. Okay, trust me, it will work. But right, so I'm just gonna leave that little diorama there. It's not difficult to remember. I don't need to. I'm just lazy. And now we're on to step 2. Where is this gonna go? Well, if you remember, a couple episodes ago, I went and made a deal with our neighbor Stellar Luma. And that deal was basically that in exchange for getting half of the glass which we're going to need for these glass bottles for the farm, and also making a staircase right here which would easily allow me to get up and down the mountain, I would build the farm pretty much right at the bottom of these stairs. So that's where we're going to put it and stuff. The one last thing is also, like, what is it going to look like? And I'm gonna be honest, I don't really have a great answer. Because what I am trying to do with this series and everything is I'm not planning out my builds or anything. All of the stuff that I'm going to make is just my first attempt building it, pretty much. However, what I can say is because I want the whole sort of base area to... Are you okay, mate? Dude's just throwing tridents at me and they keep missing. He can't get up to me and stuff. But essentially, my whole base idea here is it's kind of a bit of a shanty town. It's very sort of put together and stuff. A lot of scrap material. So whilst I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to have the building looking like itself, a style which I think would look really nice for the sort of pathways that are going to go around outside it is essentially a nice random mix of like spruce slabs and campfires, just like this. And we can also do them at varying angles and everything. And then if we use a shovel to go and put those out so that they're safe, there we go. That looks quite nice. But then to also add onto it and stuff, we can kind of add some like trapdoors around here and some signs. And then if we also introduce dark oak for a bit of color variation, look at that. I think this is quite nice and everything. Like, it looks very put together. It's very scrap sort of materials and it's quite broken down. As a matter of fact, the charcoal of the campfire kind of looks like a cat face, but it also looks like it's a bit damaged or burnt. It could even potentially be like wood rotting from, of course, the fact that it's all next to water. But like, imagine walkways like this or something, and annoyingly, they're a little expensive because of the trapdoors, the signs, and the campfires and everything, but they look really good. So yeah, I'm thinking a lot of pathways like this and everything just to look damaged, and it very much fits the vibe of the base that I want to go with. As for what the honey building is going to look like itself, I genuinely don't know. I'm just kind of going to freestyle it a bit, and of course, like, it's gonna need stuff like an area for the bees to all get pollen and everything. Like, it's gotta have all of that functional stuff. However, I think I would also like to mess around with the idea of making stuff look functional when it's actually kind of pointless. And also, since this is kind of a town, maybe we can make it like it's a bit of a business, so it's got a sign hanging down or something that's like, hey, come get your honey in here. I don't know, there's a lot of ideas buzzing around in my head and stuff, which I just don't really know what ones I'm going to use. But yeah, so we know that the building is going to go behind me at the bottom of these stairs. We know what the outside sort of pathway is going to look like. How about we just get to work? And hopefully I will come up with something soon. Okay, so it has been a little while, and I have realized something. These paths are incredibly expensive. Like, I'm pretty sure I said they were expensive, but, like, they're even more expensive than that. To be fair, I did overestimate it a bit. I made a stack of campfires, and I've only used about half of them, but, like, still. Campfires are really expensive. And then the trapdoors and the sign, like, oh gosh, it's gonna be so much wood throughout the entire series. However, I do definitely like the look of it, and what you'll notice is I've decided to go with a bit of a circle right here. And that's just because I suddenly thought, like, it would look really nice if there's a turret here. I don't know why. I don't know why my brain only just thought of it or something, but I think it would look good. Now, obviously, these paths aren't entirely done. They definitely need some support beams and stuff, especially given how weirdly deep this water is. But, like, all of that stuff's for later. I will work on that eventually. And by that, I mean I will forget. But what I would like to work on right now is actually this building. But the thing is, of course, like, there's also a hill here. So not only am I going to have to actually, like, build this whole building, which I don't really know what it's going to look like still, but I've got to dig away a hill to do so. And I mean, I'm liking how it looks right now and stuff. It's just, this is going to be very difficult to build. So yeah, I'm thinking sort of turrety thing here, where maybe we could actually put the beehives and stuff, and then maybe something around our height for, like, where the roof starts for the rest of it. As for what's gonna go, like, behind the turret, sort of on that side, I don't really really know. But, like, I could still do some sort of stuff like boarding up windows or something and making it look like the glass has been repaired. That could be a good idea. So, yeah, you know what? I've got a lot of ideas in my head. Let's just actually get to work on it. The one thing is, I might need to start harvesting a bunch of birch wood, because I think I've turned a lot of it into charcoal. Right, well, this is gonna be a big build. Let's get to work on it. Into a time lapse we go. Project and then realize that it's taking way more resources than you thought, because that is exactly what has happened with this building here, and I like it. Like, it's going decent. It's very expensive. But yes, so this is the start of our bee farm, honey farm, whatever you want to call it, and personally I really like the way this looks so far. I think once it gets a roof, because it's currently missing that, it will probably look great, and for a first building in this area and stuff, I'm really happy with how it's going. But the reason why this is so expensive is because, of course, it's gotta have a lot of redstone in it, and whilst I went and collected a bunch of redstone, the thing that I neglected to go and collect a lot of was iron. Because, of course, for every bit of redstone in this build, there is also a hopper somewhere. So I can come upstairs and show you some of the actual redstone for it and stuff, and like, this is genuinely it here. Can I get through here, please? Okay. So yeah, this is the redstone here and stuff, and like, it's the exact system that I showed you guys earlier. It's just the comparator, it's got a signal, and it goes into the dispenser. And these ones here are actually fully operational. As you can see, they've got shears in them and stuff, so this is getting honeycomb. We're actually going to be collecting a little less honeycomb than honey bottles, and that's just because honey itself is a little more expensive, because you need 4 bottles in order to make a block, and you only get 1 bottle per harvest. Whereas with honeycomb and stuff, you get 3 bits of honeycomb per harvest, and that is a good example of how fast it is filling up. So yeah, we're already above 3 stacks with that, and that's just like in the time that I have been building this farm. But of course, that doesn't require many hoppers, because basically it's just some hoppers below each one of these beehives and stuff. However, of course, when it comes down here into this room, which will be here, it's gonna need a bunch of item filters, of course, to turn stuff into blocks and compact it down and move it to wherever we want to store it, not to mention the fact that we're going to want to be sending bottles back up. Because yeah, another complication with honey bottles is, of course, they're required in crafting, so then we need to send all of the bottles back up to go into these systems again. Honestly, half of the problems with this farm just come with the fact that it needs honey bottles. Honeycomb would be the easiest farm in the world. But no, so aside from complaining about the redstone and stuff, let's actually show you a little bit of this build. So, like, as I've said and stuff, it's got a tiny bit of Victorian England inspiration. Like, it's not following it too closely. I don't think you would be able to guess, but I think it will become much more clear once we put the roof on and stuff. I just really like how it's shaped so far. Like, you know, you've got the main sort of box, but we've also got this turret here. But then, of course, also, because this is kind of supposed to be a bit of a shop in terms of what the base looks like and stuff, we've actually gone ahead and included this little sign here and stuff, and this took a weirdly long time to design. You can see me working out the hexagon right here, but I quite like it. I'm considering maybe putting a sign in the middle or something that directly says honey, honeycomb, bees, something along those lines. But like, for now, it works as a nice indication. And also, we've got a lodestone, which we collected in the caves back when we needed to make a nether portal. And actually, because they've now made lodestones much cheaper, cheaper and stuff, I might start using them in a lot of my designs, because now it's just 1 iron ingot. It's not netherite anymore. But I think what is probably my favorite bit about this building, and probably always will be, is just this little greenhouse bit on top, which I keep failing to jump into. There we go. So this is basically where we are going to keep the bees permanently and stuff. I can let them out, and like I've got this opening here just so that I can get in and out, but I would kind of rather that they stay in here, because of course, like if they go and explore, sometimes they get lost, sometimes they die, and there's no way for me to know if they do, so I can't replace them. As a matter of fact, something I will probably need to do at some point is basically come in here, collect up all of the beehives, use the MBD data to work out how many there are, and then breed a bunch of bees so that we end up with the maximum in here. But of course, so along with it having like this nice little curved design, which I'm just a huge fan of, I think it's quite stylistic and fun just having like a green area on top of the building. I think the most notable thing in here is just the wide variety of flowers. Now, this took a little bit of exploration to go and find all of these, but of course we've got the wild flowers here, which I don't know if the bees can actually use these, but they do look aesthetic. We've got cornflowers, dandelions, we've got these are these called peonies or something? Yeah. You've got the tall rose bushes, these things which are lily of the valley. Yep, roses or poppies actually. Yep, they're poppies. And then we've actually got the cactus flower, which personally I feel like this looks like a lotus flower or something. Like, can you put them on lily pads? Oh, I don't know if you can, but I definitely need to test that at some point. But no, I think my biggest issue with this building so far, other than the fact that it's missing a roof, is probably just kind of how flat it feels, and you would have noticed that in a lot of the time lapse probably, and I tried fixing it with some of these details, and it's definitely worked a little bit, but like it still just feels flat, which I mean, it's going to. It's a game made of blocks, but there's just something off about it. It kind of feels like it needs more depth. It's got to have some cracks in the walls or some imperfections. I don't know. It's an issue that I struggle with a lot in Minecraft, and I think for this building, I might just need to kind of leave it and everything and just hope that I can improve on stuff in future. But yeah, definitely when we get to like building some more buildings around here and stuff, I'm probably going to try and experiment a bit more with depth. So maybe all of these pillars can come out by a block, which I did want to do here. It's just if I did, it would have turned all of these round pillars into a diamond shape. I could experiment a bit more with overhangs. I'm trying to mess around a little bit with like shape by just sort of putting these nice little overhangs with a mixture of trapdoors and slabs and stairs. Even the sign is 3 blocks thick and stuff, and it actually also uses the trick of like having a fence gate connected to a wall. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm trying with it to try and make it look nice and stuff, but I think it was a little bit flawed from the start, although I will say the gradient's quite nice. It's my first time using a gradient like this. But yeah, compared to like the detail in all of the floor here and stuff, like using all of the trapdoors and the campfires and the slabs, and actually I do also want to maybe put some trapdoors in the floor. Like compared to that, it just kind of feels not my best work. But for now, I am happy with it, even though it's not serving its main function of, you know, like actually farming everything we need and compacting it down. However, that is an issue for next episode. I know, it's a little annoying. I'm splitting a project again. I don't often do this. I don't like doing it too often, but like for this one, it's kind of necessary because there's a lot of iron, but also I want to take an adventure out to the desert and the mangrove swamp, which that probably doesn't sound too monumental to you guys yet and stuff. However, when we go and look at the map, the nearest desert is technically this. This is a desert. However, that is not sufficient to go and get enough sand. So the actual location of the desert is around over here somewhere. And the mangrove swamp is even further. It's about over here. So, you know, all of that distance. But along with that, we're also going to need to go into the caves and get a bunch of other stuff. And then we're going to actually need to do the redstone for the farm. So it feels like it's kind of decent to split it in two and stuff, considering the amount of things we need to do. I'll see you there and stuff.